So, all right. So we have a great word today. When I'll tell you that Laura picked it out, and I have to tell you, I've never really. I know what the root word means. I actually love the word, but I hadn't ever. I don't think I'd ever used it in a sentence in the form that you suggested. Anticipatory, right? So, Laura, I'm going to mute myself, and you tell us why you picked that, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it seemed to be a word that was bouncing around. I kind of equate anticipatory, uh, and Lisa, I know you could correct me if I'm wrong here because you seem to be a foodie and a wordy, um, where it's almost kind of like an expectation. You you go to work and you anticipate certain things that are going to happen, or you interact with people and you anticipate that things are going to happen. So that's where I'm going with anticipatory, and sometimes how that anticipation can push us off track, get us sidetracked, or I guess you could say segue into expectation. And then when people don't do something you expect or anticipate, it kind of rocks your world.
Um, yeah, anticipation to me is a lot of what you just said. I don't know why, but I always think of it as anticipating good things. but it, but to me, anticipation. I know that some people have challenges anticipating what might happen wrong. Uh, but I guess I'm always on that side of anticipating what could go right. I figure if there's a half empty, half full, I'm a half full kind of gal. So
Well, and I see that Kathy was talking about anticipatory as we talk about gardening and seasons changing. I mean, that's a perfect example, of course. Of course, you would think I would have thought of that, but I'm still sleeping. So, but that's a really good example.
And I think as you think about children, the anticipation of Christmas morning, right? Or oftentimes, I used to love the first day of school, and I would just look forward to it, like you say, that expectation and the anticipation of going. I don't know if there's kids that still like to go to school. Can't say all through my school life I did, but pretty much, my younger years and in elementary school. Um, the anticipation and the excitement. Like you, Lisa, I always think of anticipation being from a happy standpoint.
yeah,
Looking forward to the excitement of our big, our experience in Las Vegas, the wow of the world. Um, when it goes the negative side, I think it's more like anxiety. If people are thinking of something bad coming, like that, anxious about things that might not, you know, like what they might not, anxiety of going to the doctor, you know,
right.
that to me that's not anticipation, but it could be, Other thoughts, Lisa? Well, your mic is still open, and then Laura, you can pop in.
Um, I think that maybe one of the things we might could discuss is how maybe we could shift that from being an anxiety to being uh, a positive anticipation. Uh, I say a lot of people say to me, "Well, this could go wrong," and I'm like, "Well, this could go right." And so there's how do we have that type of tug of war in our mind? I guess what is it that makes us anticipate bad things? What do you think?
I think it's when people, it's the stories in your head. I mean, I talk about that a lot. We set ourselves up. When you're talking about that negative and like what you guys are saying, you can flip that to positive, or you could just not have a story in your head, or be anticipatory and just step into the situation, you know, and not think twice about what coulda, shoulda, or woulda happened. Any of that kind of things. I think a lot of it, like we've talked about, it's between our ears.
Anticipation with dread is called worry. Very true. And
What?
that's, we need to like stop that worry stuff as soon as you notice, right?
Well, and you can go to, one great thing to do to just stop it all in its tracks is God is in control, and people will always fail you. Did I miss anything? If you're going down that,
Uh huh.
anxiety piece with people.
Yeah. And I say, Karen says worry is a waste of time. Absolutely. Um, and I think that's where the anxiety is when you're in anticipation, the looking forward to, um, then you're not going to be worrying because you sort of can't be both at the same time. If you're looking forward to something and that the expectation of good things, then you can't really be worrying at the same time. It's like faith and fear that can't exist in the same space.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is weird trying to make sure we're kind of going back and forth with the on
Well,
and the off. So we're doing a little lag behind here because we were having some echo problems. I don't know if
the,
they're
the
still there.
it's definitely there when you have your mic on.
Ah, so maybe it's my issue. Um, okay. Well then, girls, pick up and get a conversation going here. But it's hard for me not to jump in, so you guys have to.
Well, and I'm having.
I just muted her.
Yeah. And I'm having problems with my internet. Everybody's cutting in and cutting out, so I'm catching the last, 10 seconds.
It's definitely technical morning challenges.
Say, so I'm pretending I hear everything you're saying. I'm anticipating.
To me, worry is, which is, like she said, anticipation with dread, is it uses up my energy. That's how I look at it because I always have this limited energy that I can expend on things, and so to me, what can I do when I'm in a state of worry? Do you really have control over what's coming? Does worry actually stop what's coming or any outcomes or anything? And so for me, it's like, well, that's just wasted energy. So I don't like being a worrisome person. It's not that I can say I'm completely 100% free of that, but I'm fairly free of it because I just don't have the time to waste on it. But for me, anticipation builds energy. And I don't know why that builds energy. So for me, anticipating good things, it doesn't matter whether life lets me down sometimes and that anticipation didn't come out. I still feel the difference in the energy flows in myself in terms of how much I have to give to people. And so for me, it's just better to anticipate a full cup and pump myself up and be able to go through the day.
Sorry, Delinda, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Laura. Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
I was going to use the I guess the current situation, and you hear a lot of people are doing um, you can throw prepper in there, or the sky is falling, or all of those kinds of things. And for me, I've always been, I guess you could say I've been a prepper because I always buy an extra whatever. We live in Tornado Alley. When my kids were little, I had sleeping bags and pillows underneath the staircase in the basement. To me, it's more of a, and that's probably a simple example. Just because I set aside an extra gallon of milk, let's say, well, that's not true, but something, an extra can of beans. It's funny how in my experience, if you say, yeah, I set aside a few things, people jump to, well, you're worrying. No, I'm not. Joseph put the grain in the storehouse because God told him to stock it up. So I'm just putting a little grain in my storehouse. It's in the form of black beans, but hey, but it's that anticipation. I use it that way with, thank you, Lord, there's no tornadoes. We haven't had one in many years. So, the sleeping bag and the pillows are gone. The kids have grown. We've eaten extra can of beans, but it's always, and it can, like you guys are saying, can turn into a positive when you're dealing with situations. Even if the sky is going to fall, who's in control? God's in control. So we can only do the best we can. And like you both said, and like Karen has said, it's wasting energy to worry and spin on something that there's no control. And, that's kind of my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, Laura. And I think what you're talking about in particular, like the extra can of beans, that's just being smart and preparing so that it's putting you in a positive place. The decision to do that is actually anticipating the positive getting through it. It's like not so much, oh no, it's happening, but yeah, that just really the preparation, and it's probably good for all of us to think about that. And again, it's not worry. I look at worry, and I don't know how much I'm echoing, so I apologize if I am. I think worry is like cancer. I think worry just eats away at you. It eats away your spirit. It actually, people who worry, like worry wart, that expression that we've had, it wears them down physically too. It affects you physically, like Lisa was saying, takes your energy away. It keeps you from being productive. If you're so worried about what's happening next, or this thing that's coming on, or it's one thing to be concerned, and pay attention and prepare, but it's another whole thing to worry and wring your hands. And my mother, she would laugh at me for getting ready to say this, because she knows this. I've been trying to train my mother for years not to worry. She just worries and worries constantly. So she actually is getting a little better. Now she's 93, and I'll say, now mother. And so she doesn't, in the beginning, she used to take offense at it. And I'd say, but mother, my life is so much happier. I just don't worry about stuff. Now, I'm going to say, I can't say I never in my life have ever worried. Of course, I've had my moments as well. But I just find it such a waste of time and energy that I just don't go down that road. Or when I begin to, I go to a different place, So, if something begins to overwhelm me, that's just like, okay, Lord, take it. I don't want to worry about it. I can't change it anyway. And that's the thing. Think of all the time that you could spend worrying, being anxious. In that amount of time, you could have done a whole bunch of other things, because your mind would have been free, to do the more positive things. So I'm with y'all on the whole worry thing. It's like, and you can train yourself, everybody. If you're one of those that worries a lot, you don't have to just beat up on yourself. Just when you feel it, begin to notice it first. I think that's one of the main things is first just begin to notice when you begin the worry. What is it you're worrying about? And, is there anything you can do? The more you think about it, is it going to change? Now, doesn't mean you just let go of your life and you don't make any preparations. Sometimes that is a signal to maybe begin preparations for something, or do something positive in anticipation of something good that could counteract that. But catch it first. It's kind of like negative self-talk. It's the same idea. When you start hearing in your head those negative thoughts about yourself, mostly is that whole self-talk thing, you just got to stop it and nip it in the bud as soon as you catch it. Then replace it with something good, and like just delete it, throw it over your shoulder or something. I know it sounds easy. It's not so easy as it sounds, but you can do it. You can train yourself not to have negative self-talk, and you can train yourself not to worry. There's hope. That's my message to you. Go ahead, Lisa.
I found a quote. There's lots of quotes about anticipation, but I thought this one was kind of cool. It says, remember this, anticipation is the ultimate power. Losers react and leaders anticipate. So.
That's a neat way to put it.
I like the word anticipation because the word itself makes me feel positive, like I'm looking forward to something. And let's put Kathy's up here. This is good. Expectant and intentional are two synonyms. Interesting that worry is entered into the conversation. Very true.
And like what you were saying to Linda, with you have to train yourself, your mind, and I mean, we're all Christians. We all read our Bibles. I go to the scripture. I mean, God's saying it right there. Don't worry, tomorrow's going to take care of itself. Focus on right now, today, serving and loving people.
Well, and I like the fact that it says anticipation is the ultimate power. Like Kathy was saying, expectations and intentional. Those are two things that drive our lives in where we can have. It's not like we have all control, but I mean, we have more control if we are acting intentionally, which is anticipating a good thing. In other words, I mean, I'm really big about the fact that the scripture talks about God framing things up before he did them. I think that's anticipation and intentional acts. And we too can frame things up in positive ways and make them happen, especially since, we're related a little bit.
Well, and I think I like the way you said he framed it. I mean, our entire lives are framed. He knows the beginning from the end. He knows he's ahead of us, next to us, behind us, the whole 9 yards. So all we have to do is keep walking through the path that he's setting, and we're responsible for our reactions. I mean, it's cool when you think. I like the way you said that with he's framed everything. He's framed each and every one of us, our lives. So why do we have to go to that worry piece at all, really, when you think about it?
Yeah, I agree, Laura. And when it's we all are anticipating the day. Okay, I don't want to go today, but when my time comes, I am looking for it. I'm anticipating what that is going to be with Jesus all the time. So not having the dread. I'm not worrying about you know, what's going to happen at the end of the world and all of that. We know the end of the story. Okay, we know who's going to be, the victor in all of this. And so having that, I think that when we go back to that place, when we feel overwhelmed, or when the world is trying to make us conform to its way of thinking, and I think it's in Romans, I can't remember right off, where it says, do not be conformed to the pattern of this world. The pattern of this world is to get you to live in fear and anxiety and to not have faith. That's the pattern of the world. But when we conform and transform our minds to really anticipating what God has for us, and even what's next, we don't really know what's next happening here in the world, but we can live in anticipation because we know God's got it. We can live in that anticipation of what he has for each of us individually, but also for our country. I don't think God's done with our country yet. It's going to get better. I don't know how. I don't know the pattern. I don't know when, but I know God's got this, and it will get better. So just, and I don't think that relieves us of doing anything. I mean, I think we still have to get up each day and work and make a difference in our own life, in our own sphere of influence, but God's got it. And so that's why I really like the word, is because that anticipation of that good that God's got for us in our lives. And until we're gone, there is still more for us. He's not done with us yet. One of y'all can take over. I'll turn my mic off.
Well, and if you think of it, this came to my mind, was that anticipation is hope, and hope is an anchor, so, use that anticipation of good things coming, like you said, Delinda, and anchor yourself through the challenges that you have. I've never actually had a part in my life where I didn't finally peek out over the horizon of the darkness that was, hitting our family or something. Everything ends and everything does get resolved eventually. It doesn't always get resolved the way you want it to, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and so we can always anchor ourselves in that hope, in my opinion.
And there's always a lesson, whether it's a great experience or a not so great experience, for us to learn. I mean, and that's one thing I try to do every day. Like, okay, I'm in this situation. You know, stop myself from anticipating how it's going to turn out. And regardless of how it turns out, what am I supposed to learn from this? And how do I take that into my journey and moving forward?
Yeah, great point, Laura. That's really true because that's usually where we learn, right? When things don't go kind of the way we want them to. When we have those challenges or trials or all the other words that mean that. But that's usually where our biggest growth happens. And I think it's because we have to let go and we just really have to let God open us up and show us what He has for us. You know, better ways of living or better ways of dealing with other people. Just there's so many lessons to be learned along the way, and still yet to be. That we all still have many lessons ahead.
And see, this is why everybody needs chickens,
And
because you
tell me
anticipate
why.
eggs.
There you go.
You'll have to teach us, or me. I'm anticipating you're going to teach me.
Kathy asked a good question here. What are some things we anticipate in the coming days, weeks, months, and years? Yeah, a great question for us to each of us to ask ourselves. You know, the anticipation sometimes of depending on where you are in your life, the anticipation of grandchildren, and that I've got mine, but I'm anticipating all of the fun things that are ahead. I know Kathy goes. She has this darling little granddaughter who dances and all, and she gets to go to all her recitals and stuff. And I know she looks so forward. She anticipates that fun and that beauty of watching that little girl dance. So when you start thinking about what are the things you're looking forward to, I think that's a great question. Oh, Karen has a trip in March. Yay, Karen. Where are you going? We'll see if she answers back. I bet she does. I do hear that I am starting to echo again. All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour. Thanks for hanging in with us this morning with the technical difficulties. I'm not sure what exactly happened there, but we did have a good conversation after all, even when we had to mute ourselves. Oh,
Well,
gosh.
and see, I anticipated yesterday we were going to have a great show. So,
Excellent. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Oh, Karen, Palm Springs with 13 family members. Wow. Now that will be fun. I know Karen has a big family and loves to do things and go places with them. I've seen some of your pictures, Karen, of your family, and it's just beautiful. So I love that. All right, ladies, a final thought from you, Laura.
Uh, I think I've given you all of my thoughts. I was going to just talk about answering the question in the coming days. I'm anticipating getting my greenhouse finished in the coming weeks, growing in my greenhouse in the coming months, coming to Vegas. I've never been to Las Vegas and meeting you guys. Well, I see you when you're here, Linda, but I've never met Lisa or any of the gang in Vegas area. So, that's an anticipation. But I guess, just a thought for people that I love what Lisa was saying with God frames everything. And maybe our anticipation should be He's always in control. Let's see what He does, every minute, every day, every hour, however you want to phrase that in our life.
well, my final thought is try to write down your next positive anticipation and start to put that ultimate power into place. Maybe if you write on a sticky note every morning what you anticipate that's positive, and then give thanks for that. Maybe it'll start helping you in your day.
That's a great idea. I think writing things down is so powerful anyway. I think what, 80% of what you write down will come true, but if you don't write it down, like 10% might, something like that. There's some real statistics on that. So y'all can look them up to find out what the truth is. So Karen, I would say to you, you say kind of scary to think about us all being on the same plane. Oh, you all are going together. But I'm not going to worry. But that's right, because you know what? You're not in control of that airplane. You're not in control of it, but you can go and anticipate how exciting it's going to be with you all being there together. I think it'd be so fun to be on a plane with my family. You know, I think there've been four of us at a time, maybe, but I've never had my whole, like since we have spouses and in-laws and all that. I haven't been in anything with everybody on it. So, yay! Don't be scary. Don't worry, because worry's just gonna take all of your anticipation and excitement away. So good for you. Don't worry about it. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I know you could be at least a dozen other places this morning, so we're glad you chose to be with us. If you're watching the replay, if you're watching later in the day, I'm glad you tuned in. Really do appreciate it. And we are closing up another month. I tell you, I don't know about y'all, but the months go so fast. We're going to be in October already. It's like, oh my gosh. I do want to encourage you to please go check out the Wow the World Conference here in Las Vegas, February 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. Dr. Laura is going to be doing a message on Sunday morning for us. Lisa is going to be teaching on her time valuation, right, Lisa? And she is so excellent. You just don't want to miss that. If you have any trouble in your life with what the world calls time management, then you need to hear Lisa, because she's going to put a different twist and make you think differently about it, and it changes your perspective. It really, really does. I've heard her teach part of it. I haven't heard her whole course, but I've heard her teach the valuation part, and it is so excellent. And like I said, it'll change how you think. So go to the Fun Fearless page, go to my personal page, do the QR code, or just here it is, right? And I'm going to put it, well, I don't have the link to paste it, but it's wowtheworld2023.com. Now, it can't be much easier than that. Wowtheworld2023.com to get all the info and come join us. The three of us are going to be there. Kathy is going to be there. She's going to be teaching and training as well. You do not want to miss. And we want to see you, because I got a lot of hugs I want to give away. I just got, we got to get in the same room so we can do that. All right. I do love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Go out and make it a great day. And remember that life is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. So choose wisely. Go out and make a difference and live your life with anticipation. All right.
She's gone.